following broadcast is a presentation of iRacing Motorsport and Simulations live on PTRTV. We'd like to thank all of our partners for their support.
He may get the run on the outside off of the back straightaway. 26 and Hallmark trying to go 3 wide. No one will let them.
Talking and bobbing and weaving down the back straightaway, looking for a way around. The 5 machine trying to take a look underneath the 3 car. He's going to dive it in down to the bottom. A huge move down to the bottom of the racetrack.
Back bumper. Can anything happen through the tri-oval? Walker Thomas to the inside. Here he comes to the outside. Side by side through the tri-oval. The 14. It's going to be a photo finish to the line. Who's going to get it?
Walker Thomas. Machine coming out of turn number 4. Tiller looking to go 3 wide, almost 4 wide. He's going to try to look for a gap. Bobbing and weaving for the lead down through the tri-oval.
Photo finish.
2 by 2. The 65 gets the win.
Welcome, race fans, back to PTRTV on LSRTV. It's been a while, but we are back with you with the Integrity Racing League. Here as we wind down the season following the Cup Series schedule, we are at Martinsville Speedway beginning the round of 8, and tonight's race is the Southern Railway 250, 250 laps around the paperclip in Ridgeway, Virginia. And giving you the calls tonight is myself, Corey Silva, the man in the cameras, but I have Evan Black and Joe Crisp behind the scenes giving us a hand. So Evan, we haven't covered these guys in quite some time, but we know we always see some good racing here by the Integrity Racing League guys. And well, with the playoffs winding down and here at the short track, it's most likely going to be some really good racing.
Yeah, it's going to be some really good racing, and there's a very high possibility that this race could go green for a very long time. We've seen it before where we can have some really long green flag runs here, so don't be surprised if we get 100 or even maybe more green flag run here at Martinsville. So that should be very fun to watch out for and see how that plays out, and if there's any pit strategy going on as well.
Yeah, qualifying is currently underway right now. These guys are turning their laps around the speedway. 2 laps I get, but on the tune of what you just said, Evan, I mean, in another league that we do cover on the channel, we had a pretty similar size field at Martinsville, and they ran 200 laps in the Cup car, and well, that race did not see a yellow flag. So as you kind of said, not something that I would be surprised if that was the case. So but again, we haven't covered these guys in quite some time, so we can give you a little bit of a heads up on what the point standings are. And as the playoffs are winding down, we are in the round of 8 effective tonight, which would give Jacob Fife, Eric de Blasio, Sam Nieto, Tom Wetmore, William Dunn, Don Stevenson, Adam de Blasio, and Jay Heisman. My stats are all correct, would be the drivers still going for the championship.
3 races in this round here. I know Martinsville is going to kick it off here, and then we have Texas and ISM. And after that, it'll go down to just 4 drivers racing for that championship in Homestead. So this can be, those 8 drivers are going to be trying their hardest to get the win here tonight. Because if they win here tonight, they just punch their ticket to go to Homestead and race for a championship here in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, I would not want to be in a position where I had to go to ISM, to Phoenix International, and get that run, and have to get that run, because that track being a smaller track, and especially being a smaller track with everybody having everything on the line that they do have. I mean, we saw it in the real world going back in 2014, Ryan Newman punting Kyle Larson out of the way to get that point he needed. So that stuff can happen. So good to have a better run here at Martinsville, get that ticket, or go to the 1.5 mile at Texas next week. But a minute and a half. And I do actually have clarification on the playoff standings. Everybody is at 4,000 points. It was the drivers that I did mention. Just to tell you one more time: Adam de Blasio, Caleb Eisenhower, Jacob Fife, Eric de Blasio, Sam Nieto, Tom Wetmore, William Dunn, and Don Stevenson. So if I didn't say it right the first time, that actually is the top 8 drivers, and they do have their lime green their lime green decals on the car, the splitter, the windshield banner, and the spoiler, so that will help us figure out who is who. But Evan, as qualifying is starting to wind down, looks like Samuel Nieto is in a pretty good spot right now.
Yeah, he's got the pole by just a little bit over 100 so far. And track position is going to be pretty important here at Martinsville. It can be pretty tough to pass, especially tough to pass if you don't want to move someone out of the way. So starting on pole or really anywhere in the top 5 is always nice.
Yeah, I know Evan and I just before this race just ran a couple Martinsville races in the Xfinity and in the trucks, and these guys are most likely going to be running very even lap times, and when everyone's running the same lap time, it's really hard to get that run by. You're going to have to do what Joey Logano did, or just really try to wait for a mistake, try to run different lines, try to get better runoff exit. There are some choices that you will have with your line here at Martinsville, so these guys may have the opportunity to take that into consideration. But now we have finished qualifying, and these guys are lining up onto the starting lineup, onto the grid. So let's give it to you, the PTRTV on LSRTV starting lineup here from the Martinsville Speedway. On the pole with a lap time of 19 seconds flat. You don't see that one too often. Is Sam Nieto. Congrats on that lap. Caleb Eisenhower outside of the front row with a 19.013. Jacob Fife in 3rd. Eric de Blasio in 4th. And then we have Don Stevenson and Adam de Blasio. He has been the dominator this season. He's back in 6th. Christopher Schutzler and Cody Smith 7th and 8th.
And rolling off in the 9th position, we have William Dunn on his outside in 10th. The 73 of Jason Miller, and 11th Tom Wetmore. 12th and we have Alan Roll. 13th Guillermo Alvarez. 14th Steve Price Jr. 15th Alan Pahari, and 16th we have Jay Heisman.
And then rounding out the field is Camilio Thompson and Kent Wetherill. So, well, for the Integrity Racing League, a little bit of a smaller field, but still plenty of drivers, and hopefully not any attrition, so we could still put on a good race for you, and they can do the best they can around this very small racetrack. So the weather conditions that these guys are enduring today: 78 degrees in the air, 85 on the track, a 2-mile-an-hour wind, which is pretty negligible. But the most important thing with the weather, Evan, is we are in the late afternoon, so I mean, grip is of the importance here at Martinsville, so a little bit more handed to these guys tonight.
Yeah, they're going to need all that grip that they can get here at Martinsville, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot of different lines here tonight, because I ran a race here last night, and only 20 laps in, we were already up in the 3rd lane here at Martinsville, and that was the fast way around.
Yeah, this track with the iRacing dynamic track model, which very similarly mimics real life. These guys are going to be running the bottom. They're going to get a lot of rubber and a lot of heat built up down there, so they're going to want to find other places on the track that have a little bit more grip, aren't quite used, a little bit cooler track, a little bit more grip. So these guys will be moving up all the way to the top of the concrete. They're not going to want to get into the asphalt. That's not going to be good, but they want to get right to the top of the concrete. But they're going to have to be careful of it, because as soon as you run up there too much, it's going to go right back down, and you're going to have to move back down and find that grip down there.
And it's a very thin line of running that concrete, and just if you overdrive it just a little bit too much, if you get those right sides up into the asphalt, you're going to go way up the track.
Yeah, there's a little bit different banking up there on the asphalt, so you're going to have to keep your line very tight there and try not to get doored up the track because, well, it's a short track. These guys are going to be ready and raring to get these spots, ready and raring to put on a good race here in round number 3 of the playoffs. Round of 8 will go down to 4 in a couple more races. We're getting close to the championship round, but it has to head through Martinsville Speedway first. On the loud pedal is Nieto. Very slow start, but we are underway.
Eisenhower is going to stay next to Nieto going down into turns number 1 and 2, but Nieto is going to clear down on that inside lane. Jacob 5 trying to get up there to the 51 of Eisenhower, but Eisenhower is going to clear down into turn 3. Side by side, 4th, 3rd right now.
Yeah, that's really hard on that outside groove to get the spot, so you have to really fight for it on the restarts until that upper groove wears in. You can see the 36 of Fife in that Mountain Dew machine to the inside of the track. The 11 of Eric de Blasio not able to hold on, so he will fall back in line. And then Stevenson and Adam de Blasio battling for 5th and 6th. De Blasio, Adam stuck to the outside, trying to get to the inside. He may be able to get behind Stevenson.
It looks like right now, at least, the inside lane is preferred. De Blasio up there in the outside lane started back in 6th. And actually, he hasn't dropped back any further, but just he is not able to make any ground up there.
And there he is. He is able to get in front of Schetzler in the 24 machine, so that'll be the 6th position. And again, we haven't covered these guys in quite some time, but things don't really change. Adam de Blasio, I think he was at 10 wins when he stuck on our last broadcast. Well, he's up to 12 right now, so 12 out of 32 races, so that is nearly a 1/3 percentage. So that is absolutely just ridiculous statistics, but so far he has some work to do, Evan, and we know Martinsville, as we said, it isn't easy to pass, especially cleanly as the runs progress and as you start to lose grip. So he's going to be losing time to the leaders. He's going to really have to get by these guys as quickly as possible if he is able to do so.
And at this point in the race, where everyone is all single file and pretty calm for right now, this is where it's really easy to get a long green flag running here. So I would not be surprised if they can just stay like this for another 100 laps or so.
Yep, and once the wheel spin starts to set in, as we are on board with Adam in that number 48 machine, he's hard on the binders into 1 and 2. You can see the 47 of Stevenson washing up the track just a little bit, but that doing so actually gave him a really good run off of the corner and down the back straightaway. And I'm scrolling up a little bit further right now, and I can see Caleb Eisenhower. He was experimenting with his line there, trying to see if it would allow him to get a run on Nieto, but not quite the case. He goes right back down to that curb.
It's probably going to take at least another 10 or 15 laps before we do see some guys start to move up to that outside lane, as Eisenhower's already doing it, making up a little bit of time. But I don't think that's really the preferred lane quite yet.
Yeah, it does two things for you. It gives you a straighter run off of the corner, so you can run high and then cut low and maybe get a little bit of a run underneath your competitor, get a run down the inside on the back straightaway or the front straightaway. But it also, as we said, once that inside lane heats up, that's where the grip's going to be. And again, until they wear in the top. And then after that point, the whole track's rubbing in, and it's really going to be just kind of pick your poison. Where are you more comfortable running?
Nieto up to about a half-second lead right now over Eisenhower, which Eisenhower is starting to drop back. Now Jacob Fife on his back bumper, going down into turn 1. Fife trying to get that second position from Eisenhower.
And here comes Adam de Blasio a little bit further back. He is now to the inside of Don Stevenson in the 47 machine. Right behind him is the 24. So does de Blasio have enough, or is that outside groove going to play enough defense for the 47 machine? Thus far, 48 was not able to do so, and here comes Schetzler in the 24. He's going to see an opportunity to the inside of the racetrack, but is he going to be able to actually present that move and complete the pass? That's what we haven't seen thus far. You can see Adam de Blasio really high up, probably higher than he wanted to be. That's going to give the 24 a little bit of an edge. And he's going to send it on in there to corner number 3, really deep. Almost got into the back bumper of the 47, but still they remain side by side.
Once these tires are getting old is when the outside lane starts to come in a little bit, and that's going to make it really hard for this bottom lane to make any passes. As it looks like the 48 of de Blasio might be able to clear here. Pretty close to into 3 and 4, but not able to. here out of 4, he is going to clear now.
And that's something where later in the race, we saw it in the real world race with Truex and Logano. Truex was underneath Logano for lap after lap after lap, and rather than maybe slide him up the track and ensure that spot, he raced him really clean, and it was never able to make the pass that way. And you know, that may happen later in the race, Evan. These guys will run side by side for so many laps. Well, eventually, if you want the spot, you may have to take it the hard way.
Yeah, we shouldn't see too much of that probably in the first 100 laps or so, but once we get down to 150 to go, that's when these spots really start to matter more, and especially in the last 50 laps of this race.
And I will tell you, things have tightened up at the front of the field right now. Nieto may have used up his stuff a little bit early because Eisenhower right now, he's trying to diamond the corner. He got right to the back bumper. The 22 had a massive wiggle off. Look at the 51 sailing on in there in corner number 3, getting that high line. And then he's going to try to cut on corner exit, but with that smooth inside lane, it looks like Nieto was able to get the better run, but the 51's trying so hard to get to the outside lane.
And they're coming up on the lap car, the 70 of Kent Weatherall. We'll see where he goes and if he's going to let the leaders take the bottom. Right now he's staying down in the bottom lane. We'll see what he does here out of turn 4. Weatherall still kind of staying in the lane now, given the bottom lane. And these top 8 or so are still staying really close together. And here comes Eisenhower for move for the lead.
Watch out for the wheel hop. Maybe got a little bit loose, but he will have the position. The 22 is going to try to put up a fight on the outside. That fight is very short-lived. He really got on the binders early. Almost got ran in the back by Fife there. But Eisenhower will possess the lead now as we have completed 20 laps, and brother-on-brother battle for the 4th spot. Adam took a look underneath the 11, but really entered the corner very shallow, and that actually gave the 47 a look to the outside.
Don Stevenson, that 47, trying to get by that 48 at de Blasio on the outside, but looks like de Blasio is going to clear just barely, not enough to move up in front of him. Down into 3 and 4. We'll see if he can clear here, and yes, he will. Going to slide up in front of that 47. Actually, still leaving the door open. Now he should be able to shut it here through 1 and 2.
You can just see the different braking points throughout the field of drivers maybe having a little bit shallower of a braking point, and then other drivers driving in really deep and create some really sketchy situations. But everyone is doing a good job to ensure that there is no contact and no incidents made. But see, Eisenhower, once he's gotten the lead, he's pulled out to about a half-second advantage. But as we said, Evan, these guys are just door to door to door, nose to tail, just no separation in the rest of the top 5.
And that's what happens when the speed is so close to de Blasio. Really loose out of turn 4. Gonna hang on to that 5th spot for now, but that right rear is not gonna be happy with them.
Not at all. Just got the power down a little bit too hard on corner exit, and that got him really sideways. You can't do that too many times. Once you get that right rear too hot, it'll be really hard to get it cooled off. As Stevenson on the curb off corner exit, that cost him a little bit of time. Something you got to watch out for here at Martinsville is that curb is not your friend. It's not like a curb on a road course where you can get those tires on there and maybe cut the course a little bit, give you some grip, a little bit of turning help. You can't use that. That is a straight up curb here, and that'll definitely get you all sorts of sideways.
Eisenhower's running a full 1/10 of a second faster than Nieto right now. And I kind of think Nieto is starting to hold up this second group here. As Fife looking to his outside out of turn 4. Not going to have enough of a run to get there, though.
Fastest driver last time by was actually Jason Miller, who's all the way back in the 10th spot. He is pretty much doesn't have anybody around him now that'll interrupt his current lap, so he's able to tick off really good times. Actually, the 43 machine as well of William Dunn, turning some good laps. These guys that are in that really condensed conga line there, they're having to drive the pace of the drivers that are around them, and that is definitely hindering their lap times.
Coming up on the 94th, Alan Roll, who is staying high here. Letting all the lead lap guys go by.
Yeah, Roll is already 3 laps down. Weatherall and Roll already off here. You can see that. I don't know what happened exactly to him, but rather significant damage. He obviously got very hard into the back of, I mean, I'd have to assume it to be Weatherall. I don't know it. If we'll see somebody who has significant damage, I guess we'll answer that question, but it does look
Quick does on the initial start, and he got into the back of Jason Miller.
Yeah, Miller not at much of a detriment thus far, but it's just, Evan, I'm floored by the fact that 30 laps in, these guys are just still just all over each other, just trying to go crazy for these positions, and it does look like Nieto is kind of the one to hold everybody up right now, but I mean, he's doing what he needs to do, not doing anything wrong. These guys just haven't been able to find a way around, and it is just stacking up the rest of the field. And
second through eighth is separated by a second and a half. That is not what you see here at Martinsville very often, especially after 30 laps.
It's a testament to the skill level in this league and how competitive these drivers are, and everyone can run a quick pace, and obviously at a short track where everyone's running the same lap time, that does make every single position just that much more important. As the 48, again, this is the brothers battle right now, Eric and Adam, 4th and 5th. Does look like the 48 is going to sail it off into 3, maybe to see if Eric would give him the spot. That is not the case. Remember, both of them in the playoffs, as denoted by their green spoilers, etc. So Adam being held up now. Had a look there. Looks like Eric is trying to diamond the corners a little bit, and Adam tried to squeeze it in there, but not quite yet.
Yeah, and the issue with whenever you do end up diamonding that corner, when you're up there in the middle lane, that it's going to open the door for someone like de Blasio to get there underneath you, for Adam de Blasio to get underneath that 11. And if he does that, then you can't come down to that curb on exit, and it's just going to kill your run.
Yeah, that's just something you really have to watch out for. And it does look like Samuel Nieto has kind of gotten a little bit of breathing room over Jacob Fife. Not too much, though, only about 0.3 of a second, but he can kind of focus on himself for the time being. Fife is trying different lines. You can see a little bit later of an entry into the corner and trying to cut and get it off the exit, but not quite. And look at Don Stevenson down the front straightaway all the way to the inside sideways.
He just got really loose out of turn 4.
Go on replay, see what happened. Yeah, that just on the exit of the corner, just broke sideways and able to save it. Here comes the 24 to his inside, that Schetzler. And will the 47 try to hold it up there and try to hold him off? He will. They will go door to door down the back straightaway.
Going down into turn 3 now. We'll see if Schetzler can clear in that 24. And he's just barely going to clear him now, but still going to leave that door open for the 47 to dive it in on the outside, which he is going to do. Pull back side by side through 1 and 2. And still going to be side by side down the backstretch.
This is one of those things that's so fun, but so frustrating at the same time, as you almost just wish that someone would screw up and you can get in the line, but you got to fight for these spots, and I really don't know who wants to be where now. It looks like the 47 may actually have the advantage, as the 11 got to hold it up, the 24 to the inside. Contact there into the fence as they door each other down the back straightaway, all trying to navigate around the 11. Look at this tight racing. William Dunn getting involved.
24 Schetzler got really loose there out of 4. That's going to allow but the 47 to go by, and now the 43 of Dunn on the outside of that 24 out of turn number 2 now. See, looks like Dunn is going to make that high lane work, and he's going to pull ahead down into turn 3. Let's see if that 43 of Dunn can keep the momentum up here out of turn 4, maybe clear, and not going to be able to there.
Dunn just able to, but I think at this point, yeah, Dunn out of the groove all the way into the asphalt. We talked about can't run that high. And but again, looks like the 36 is starting to close back in on Nieto. Fife is closing in on Nieto, but Adam de Blasio was able to get around his brother. He's now into 4th spot, and he is all over the back bumper. And we have some sideways drivers. A big stack up in 3, and there we go. Caution will come out. Upside down is William Dunn. How does that happen at Martinsville? Cannot say that I've seen too many cars go upside down at Martinsville, but we just saw it and get a better look at what happened there. It did look like it was the 11 into the left rear, Don Stevenson. Stevenson went into full drift mode. And then it was just a stack up there. The 24 got into the 11. And as you saw,
everyone got stacked up there the corner before that. So the contact happened in 1 and 2. But everyone got all stacked up through 3 and 4 because the 11 of de Blasio got really sideways there, and everyone just got all jumbled up there.
So this will bring everybody down pit road about 1/5 distance approximately into this race. You can see the lead Eisenhower has. He's almost guaranteed to come up with the lead, as big of a buffer as he has. Nieto struggling to get into his pit box. And is Eisenhower, he never even got his pit box yet. Eisenhower.
Just now, the right side up on Eisenhower going up as everyone else is leading pit road.
Eisenhower is going to lose an absolutely ludicrous amount of positions now. Struggled to get into his pit box. Took him near 6-7 seconds to get registered in his stall.
He's coming back in 13th for Eisenhower.
Eric de Blasio, actually Guillermo Alvarez scored as the leader, but I think he is in pits.
We'll see where this cycles at for Eisenhower to end up being. It looks like right now he's being scored in 8th. And the good thing for him is there's still a little over 200 laps to go here, so he has plenty of time to get up there, back up into at least the top 3, and he should be able to get back up to the lead, I would think, because he had a lot of speed in that first run there. But that's going to hand the lead over to Jacob 5. Going to be interesting to see if he can stay up there and fend off this 47 of Stevenson and Nieto. Here, as we got a few guys staying out, looks like trying to get a lap back. The 94 of Alan Roll. It's going to get one of his laps back. Only going to be 4 laps down now. This should be 2 to green here. Or this is 1 to green here, so we're going to get doubled up. And going to be going green next lap.
Yes, we will, as we are on lap number 48. There a big shakeup after that set of pit stops, so these guys are going to have to kind of reassess now who's faster, and we're going to have to watch Eisenhower as he tries to get through the field. He's now in 8th, so Fife is going to be in control of the start. Stevenson, Nieto, all in the top 3 right now, and green flag is in the air.
And Stevenson got a really good start there, but ended up dropping back to not beat that 36 to the line. Down into turn number 1. Looks like Fife is going to clear for the lead. Side by side for second with Don Stevenson and Sam Nieto. Down into turn 3. We'll see if Stevenson can make that outside lane work. Out of 4, and they're still side by side down the front stretch here. Looks like that outside lane is starting to finally come in at least a little bit where you can defend up there now. Before, just it was absolutely terrible up there. So we'll see if maybe another 20 or 30 laps that could end up being the preferred lane here.
Yeah, I think it is a very good chance of that happening. You see Stevenson, I think he voluntarily ran up at the top of 3 and 4, but Nieto taking advantage of the inside groove and contact entering quarter number 1. Stevenson getting knocked all over the place right now. They'll go from a battle for second to about the 4th position, maybe 5th, as here comes Jason Miller to his inside.
Almost a little bit of contact there again in 3 and 4, and contact down the front stretch, but Stevenson is going to clear. But Jason Miller diving it down in there into turn number 1 to try and get underneath him.
3 wide, 48, 51, and 83 there. But definitely the best battle on the track. 73 nearly into the left rear quarter panel of Stevenson, but Stevenson will, I can't say he's going to clear. The 73 still has position to the inside.
Down through turns number 1 and 2 now, out of turn 2 down the backstretch now, and still side by side. Like we were talking about earlier, this can be so frustrating for these drivers, staying side by side for so long, and it's definitely not good for the tires as well.
Not at all, especially the guy to the inside who's really having to put extra wheel into it on a corner exit, especially where he can't get all the way to the outside on corner exit, as you saw right there. Now here comes the 51 of Eisenhower trying to recover after that pit stop issue. 73 hit the curb, got loose, lost even more spots.
Eisenhower now up to the 5th position, restarted in the 8th. On the back bumper, that 47 of Stevenson now. Looks like Jacob Fife still up there leading. He's got about a half-second lead over the 22 of Nieto.
Yes, he does. And last time by, Stevenson, actually the fastest guy on the track was the 48, who is, again, back in the 6th position. The 48, he was up to 4th prior to that yellow. Hasn't had ideal track position at all tonight. But he is trying to get it back. And obviously, remember, any playoff driver who wins this race will get a free pass straight to Homestead. He will not have any concerns going to Texas or going to Phoenix in the next 2 weeks. So that's on the table tonight. And right now, Jacob Fife is not a playoff driver. First playoff driver back in 3rd. That is Tom Wetmore.
So how much of a hurry is Tom in right now to try and get by those 2 in front of him? Does he want to go there and try and win this race? Or Stevenson gets a big punt from the 51 through 3 and 4, and I think Stevenson actually ended up getting into the back of the 42 because of that punt.
Yeah, Stevenson is just, for some reason, he has just kind of been the, I don't even know what you want to call it, but he is just
been a pinball tonight.
Yeah, I think that was the word I was looking for. It's just everyone is getting into him right now. 47 is battling with the 48, and trying to fill in the gap as the 48 gets by is again the 51 of Eisenhower. Stevenson is on the top of the track defending that spot. 51 getting loose, nearly dooring each other down the back straightaway once again. Into 3, more contact.
Yeah, I don't think Stevenson was very happy with Eisenhower's move there a few laps ago.
51 loose on entry, it looks like.
Sliding up the track a little bit there through 1 and 2. Down the backstretch now, still side by side. So now is Stevenson, is he going to just try and pinch him down as much as possible? It's even more contact.
And then
now Stevenson is finally going to clear.
And you get to see all of the left side damage that has been accrued because of all that contact. And there is no fast repairs, there's no quick repairs, so all the damage, I mean, it is a short track, the damage isn't of catastrophic nature, but still, you don't want to beat up that car too much, and too much damage could cause suspension damage, which will obviously hurt your ability to get that thing turned. As the 48 and the 42, very hard nosed close racing. And here we are into 3. Adam de Blasio sends it on in there. Able to stay off.
Out of 4. No contact there. Good dive from de Blasio down into turn 1. Still not going to be able to clear him out of turn 2. A little bit of contact there again. Coming through 3 and 4 now. And Wetmore a bit loose into that corner. That's going to allow de Blasio to clear him.
As the run progresses, you lose that ability to really sail it off in there. You really will start to lose the back end, so you have to be all over that brake bias adjuster. You only have a little bit of leeway, though, so sometimes you can't dial enough into it to try to keep that thing from getting loose like that. So it's just kind of a feel you have to get on the brakes to know what the limit is of how hard you can drive it in, as 22 in the 48 getting by Kent Weatherall, the lapped vehicle. But just kind of going up front. We haven't talked about him, but Fife is slowly just pulling away now. He's up to a little over 3/4 of a second, about 0.8 of a second. And Evan, with short tracks, as we all know, I mean, you know how much I am a fan of this place, but with short tracks, it's all about a rhythm. And when you're able to just run your own pace and just get into a rhythm, you can really just keep clicking off good laps, lap after lap, and that's how you get those leads.
Yeah, it looks like last time by, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th were both faster than Fife. We'll see here, and
Fife did have to get by Roll that time, so that did kind of hinder him off of the exit, so we'll have to
see here this next lap what the difference in their lap times will be. This time Fife was a bit quicker.
Yes, he was. Fastest on the racetrack. Actually, not fastest on the racetrack. Fastest on the racetrack was Guillermo Alvarez, actually, in the 19s. So we'll see if Alvarez is able to gain any spots as the race progresses. But we are 25 laps into this pit stop cycle since the last time they were on pit road. And I mean, Evan, the only reason I bring this up is because we actually saw it again on a broadcast on this channel of our partner league, the American Sim Racing Series. And I mean, we don't usually ever say green flag stops in Martinsville, but again, with the field size we have, I mean, it is something that maybe it's not an active thought this early in the run, but you almost kind of have to account for when you'd want to make that, if indeed we have to.
And they can probably go about 130 laps, I would say. 120 to 130. So if that's the case, they can still go about another 100 or so more laps, which means it will be a one-stop race from here.
But at that point, I mean, you have to kind of account for both ends of the stint. So if you run the fuel load out, I mean, you're going to end up going on to the 100 laps from here. You go to 173. That gives you 80 to the end. So it may be more wise to split that up and try to do maybe 100 lap segments to the end, which would mean maybe coming in a little bit early this time by. And again, we are far off from that happening, but in this kind of race, again, we saw one very similar to this. It definitely is a realistic possibility. As Eisenhower does get by the 47 after all now, so Eisenhower up to 5th, Stevenson now back to 6th. Guillermo Alvarez trying to close in on Don Stevenson.
Looks like de Blasio was faster than both the guys in front of him last lap, Adam de Blasio. And so if he gets by this 22 of Nieto, he might be able to go up there and maybe get by 5. But this lap he was a bit slower than both of them.
Right to the back bumper of the 22 machine, and again, a longer run does not surprise me. I mean, you'll see a lot of drivers, they can dig for about 15, 20, maybe even 30 laps, but there is a completely different skill set to a long run here at Martinsville. So where maybe de Blasio was not as quick on the opening run, now he is starting to be transitioning into the long run of the stint, and maybe this is where he will start to prevail. And he does have a little bit of work to do. He has the 22 to pass, and he will also have about a 1 second deficit going back up to Fife.
And Fife, at least for the moment, is continuing to pull away. So the longer that de Blasio stays behind this 22 of Nieto, that gap is most likely just going to get bigger.
And as I am kind of just circling all around that number 48 from every camera I can see, I don't, let me see the right side. Nope, I don't see a scratch on that thing yet. He has, at least from what we can tell, kept that car as clean as can be. So he is getting
Looks
to
like
the field.
right front might be buckled up just a tiny bit.
Okay.
In between the hood.
Oh, yep. Maybe he got into the front. Maybe he rear-ended someone very, very gently. But compared to some of the vehicles out there, I want to pinpoint especially the number 11 of Eric de Blasio. Some significant damage there, but this will give us...
I think the only car cleaner than de Blasio is Jacob Fives, which I do not see a scratch or dent on that car. Well,
what we can do right now is we'll give a little bit closer of a look at that, and we'll go through the field here on lap number 81. So leading this race, he's led 35 laps, is Jacob Fife, as we've said. Sam Nieto in second, and close proximity is Adam de Blasio trying to get that third position. Tom Whitmore running in fifth, who has Caleb Eisenhower in fifth, right on his back bumper. Guillermo Alvarez running in sixth. Don Stevenson in a kind of a battered 47. Well, everything he's gone through tonight, he's still running in seventh. Jason Miller running in eighth. Eric de Blasio in his damaged number 11. He is still running in ninth. And then, haven't said his name tonight, Stove Price Jr. in 10th.
Then currently running in 11th, as a little contact there between de Blasio and the 14.
3 wide for a moment.
Got them shoved up the track. And this is still a pretty good battle going on here.
58.
De Blasio gonna go around.
They're both sideways, and the 18's there. and that will come up and bring out the caution flag.
Stove Price still sitting in the middle of 1 and 2, now gets it rolling.
See, I think that all started. The 11, he dove it, he just sent it in there, and the back end came around. He got into Stove Price in the number 14 machine, and in the number 29 of that's Alan Pahari. He had to go into the dirt, or the grass rather, on the inside, and had to, but he actually made some contact with Price and the inside wall at the same time.
So it looks like pretty much all the field coming down pit road. Don Stevenson staying out, as well as Eric de Blasio probably just trying to maybe get a bonus point or two.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine. I mean, given the race the 47 has had, that any point he can get, he's going to take. And Evan, again, something with Martinsville, something with short track racing on pit road. This pit road, especially here at Martinsville, is, I mean, it's almost the entire racetrack. It starts in turn 3, goes all the way through 3 and 4, all down the front straightaway, and you don't get off it till exit of 2. So given that, you don't get a lot of time to fix cars here and repair in the pits.
Yeah, if you can, if you have a lot of damage, you can only fix about 15 or 20 seconds each time you come down pit road. As Don Stevenson overshots his pit stall.
I don't even think that's I don't even think you can do that much. I know sometimes here, when there's very large field, maybe upwards of 25, 30 cars, if you're in 25th spot, for example, even you getting a 4-tire pit stop before you get lapped, that is even difficult. So these guys maybe will get some incremental damage done here and there, but these cars, if they get battered up, you're not, without losing some laps anyways, you are not going to get much done in the ways of repair.
But the good thing about this also being a short track is that it's, you don't, the damage doesn't affect you as much as if this was a speedway or a super speedway.
Yeah, that is very true. As long as that thing is turning properly, or actually, Evan, I remember you told me in your race last night, you did actually have some permanent damage done from some contact you had.
Yeah, I had a lot of front end damage, and that just messed the radiator up or something, and it started running really hot. So that's something, if you do get a lot of front end damage here, you're going to really have to watch those temps to make sure that you don't overheat, because if you do, it's pretty easy to blow these things up.
Yeah, we're not running fast enough for a lot of air to go through those radiators, so if they are damaged, you are hindering the airflow, and that can cause them to run hot. Just the slow speed just doesn't put enough current through. So again, you got to watch out for how much you crinkle up that front end. But we're getting ready for a restart. Pace car, actually, I'm jumping the gun.
The lights are still on?
I just got there.
It was 1 to green, but the lights came back on the pace car.
Yeah, I saw him doubling up, got all excited, but and we will have to maintain our excitement for one more lap. Lights are out this time, so we'll try it again.
Going to be interested to see what Adam de Blasio can do up there in that outside lane on this restart. Because if he can stay on the outside of that 36.5, he might be able to get the lead here.
That is possible, but you know that number 42, he's going to try to fill in the gap to the inside, get Adam de Blasio stuck on the outside. What's going to happen? Who's going to get the better jump? Let's find out. On the loud pedal is the 36. And the 48 did not clear the 42, so the 42 is going to try to send it on in there. 22 into the back of the 42, nearly pushes the 42 into the 48.
Around.
And there we go.
He's going to save it there. How did he save that? That should have been a caution right there. But somehow, Nieto was able to keep it straight.
Go on replay and try to catch that. We didn't really catch it live. He hit the 22 into the 42, who's into the 48. Alvarez to the inside. Nieto kind of shut the door on him. Nieto, again, he wrecked, but he didn't spin out, essentially. So now he goes from in a very good spot in 3rd, now back to 9th spot, but lucky for him.
Adam de Blasio just got a huge bump from the 42 of Wetmore and almost went around there in 1 and 2.
Yeah, again, we're watching that. We got to go back on replay and catch that. A lot of stuff going on here. That kind of short track racing action all over the racetrack. But that
the back end of de Blasio's car is killed now.
Now, that who do you pin? Was the braking point different on the 48 that lap, or what?
It could have been that, or it could have been just, I don't know if maybe Wetmore was unhappy with Blasio shutting the door like that.
That was a very aggressive shutting of the door there. I will give credit. I mean, I don't know if it was intentional. He wasn't expecting that, but the 48 really did kind of force his presence there and take that inside line away. So, again, that short track race at 48's kind of, he couldn't quite get there, or maybe he chickened out, not quite sure, but it looked like he was going right back for the bumper of the 42. I still think he's going for that back bumper of the 42.
So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up playing out.
Yeah, this is
I'm sure Jacob Fife is enjoying these two battling so much. Is now
he's going
to go for the dive and go on up the track.
Up the track. That's a side of the 48 we haven't seen yet.
Both drivers going to keep it straight, and here comes Wetmore coming back to the back bumper of that 48.
These are two playoff drivers, remember, so the more that they do this, I mean, I don't think the 42 is going to have enough. Alvarez is going to try to take advantage of all this beating and banging. He has closed in on the back bumper of Wetmore, but and I mean, Evan, we've been covering these guys for the better part of the season. I don't think I've ever seen Adam de Blasio kind of not lose his temper, but I'm not going to get taken advantage of like that.
Now de Blasio is starting to get away from that 42 of Wetmore. And third on back is still all stacked up, and William Dunn back there in the 43, he's definitely not having any coolant issues.
I was going to say, I think he has the coolest running engine of the bunch, and maybe has a little bit slower of a car on the front straightaway and the back straightaway respectively, but again, not enough that it's going to hinder him too much. And you can see from the rear of the car, he has no bumper cover, so, and he's running a Monster Energy Cup modified here, but actually no, he still has a hood. It's not quite a modified, but that probably could be solved by the end of this race.
100 laps down, now 150 laps to go here, and de Blasio is really starting to close in on Fife here for the lead. It's down to just under 0.4 of a second.
Now, both of these guys, I mean, I don't expect that same kind of racing from Fife. Fife obviously not being a playoff driver. He wants the lead, but I don't know to what extent he's going to try to hold off the 48, knowing he's that much faster. So we'll have to see how hard of a fight he is going to put on. But how aggressive is the 48 going to be? He has not led a lap tonight. But Mr. 12 win, he's going for win number 13 here at Martinsville on the season. If he can get that 13th win, you can see hugging the curb there just a little bit, but it didn't actually hurt him at all, and maybe even actually helped that thing rotate through the center of the curb, through the center of the turn rather.
Yeah, a lot of times you want to be on that curb just a tiny bit, just so you can get a little bit of rotation out of it, but it's a very, very, very thin line of being on the curb and being on the curb too much.
Yeah, you hop it too much, we're going to get that thing dead sideways. You don't use it enough, you might not get the turn that you need and drift up or lose some time. But now that 48 is right to the back bumper of the 38, now his job has gotten a lot harder, because now he has to kind of run the race that the 36 is running and try to figure out where he can make that run. He's trying to go a little bit higher. Not high enough, I don't think, as again Kent Weatherall on another lap down. This should be 4 laps down. But I can see 48 running a little bit higher. I think that maybe he can even get away with running a little bit higher than that, but he did get a run. Not quite enough. Just as I say that, there he goes, running even higher up the racetrack, trying to get the cut and look underneath off corner number 4, but too much wheel spin, go a little bit sideways. He has a look. Is he going to send it? No, he's not.
Pretty shallow entry there. He's going to lose a little bit of time to that 36, especially there in corner exit. He tags the wall a bit down the back stretch. Let's see, where is he going to run here in 3 and 4, back down to the bottom. Let's see. I'm kind of think he needs to start running up there kind of in the 2nd or 3rd lane here, just at the top of the concrete, but he still is running right up or right down there against that yellow curb.
Yeah, and Fife is kind of running a hybrid of the 2 lines, which obviously makes it harder on de Blasio, trying to figure out what to do when kind of both lines are kind of being utilized at the same time, if you will, by Fife. You can see Fife trying to run that higher line, and de Blasio right up against the curb, but while that battle is kind of stagnated for the time being, Alvarez is right there stalking the back bumper of Tom Wetmore.
Right behind him, still William Dunn running back there in 5th. So do you think Alvarez is just going to, he probably just needs to kind of play it safe a little bit here with the 42 of Wetmore, since Wetmore is a playoff driver, and it looks like Alvarez is kind of doing that.
Well, they're both
just riding down there behind him.
At this point. So,
Alvarez is still?
Yeah.
Don't see the green on his car, but...
Oh, wait, I'm going to take that back. Maybe on my end I might have to do a refresh. I apologize for that, so you will see the cars go white, but at least on my end I saw white, so I will retract that statement. Oh, for some reason on my end it's still showing up as green, so either way, he is not in the playoffs. I retract that thought, but again, as you said, that kind of changes things a little bit, so he will have to obviously show that extra caution, or he doesn't have to, but it would be obviously appreciated by Wetmore.
And at least for the moment, it does look like he is showing that little bit of extra caution, just kind of riding behind him for the moment. So Wetmore gets really loose down there into turn 1. Gonna keep it straight though, but here comes Alvarez now taking a look to the inside, down into 3 and 4.
Oh,
and almost a little bit of contact
nearly
there. Wetmore not giving too much room there.
And I have been live in chat, have been given a news bulletin that the number 11 driver, and I do not know why my paint schemes are screwing up right now. I will try to fix that maybe under a commercial break, but Eric de Blasio, he has caused 2 cautions this race, so that may actually park him for next week. So being a playoff driver, that could be pretty catastrophic if he was removed from the race at Texas via suspension, because they do suspend drivers for having too many cautions.
So that would most likely mean he's going to need to win tonight or at ISM if he does end up getting suspended at Texas.
Yeah, and again, that just kind of depends how the specifics work out with the rules, so we'll have to stay tuned for that. Again, apologies for the paint schemes. Trying to fix it right now after that error. So Fife, oh, there he is. He is back to his scheme, and I want to see if Alvarez has been updated appropriately. And yep, he has a Kellogg scheme. He magically changed the scheme mid-race. He had a Pepsi scheme. Now he's running Terry Labonte. So magic of the magic of sim racing. But we are back to where we should be right now, and we are pushing the halfway point in the race. So while things have temporarily stagnated out, actually no, they have not. We do have a battle for the lead, becoming closer and closer to having a change right now. Adam de Blasio is now within 0.2 of a second, within 1/10 of a second. See him running that late apex. He's right to the back bumper. I think this is the closest he has been.
Going down into 1 and 2 now. Going to try and get to his back bumper. He is on his back bumper now. Down the back stretch into 3 and 4. Going to try and run that 3rd lane up there. Going to try and cut down and get the run out of turn 4. Still not close enough to make a move, because it looks like they're just running pretty even lap times, and Blasio just cannot find a way to get by him.
Are you surprised, Evan, that they aren't any higher up the racetrack than they are?
I am a little bit surprised by that. I kind of thought we'd see more drivers up there, maybe in the 3rd lane or so. But looks like everyone for the moment just wants to stay kind of down in the 2nd lane.
And obviously when you do, as we've talked about a couple times, once you get up into that groove all the way at the top, you have to watch out, because if you do slide a little bit too far, get out of that concrete, there's a little bit of a banking transition between the concrete and the asphalt, along with a grip transition. So trying to run a little bit too high can actually go from being a blessing to being a curse. So you really have to watch how hard you run that upper groove.
Looks like Fife might be starting to pull away just a little bit here.
And speaking of...
Gap now back at about 3/10 of a second.
Speaking of pulling away, these guys have gapped third place Eisenhower by almost 5 seconds. And look at behind them. The leaders are up by 5 seconds, but look at Eisenhower, Wetmore, Alvarez, Nieto. All these guys still under a blanket.
It's kind of interesting how just those top two pulled away, but everyone on back is so evenly timed. 3rd through
10th is still separated by 2 seconds. As here comes the 14 sideways on entry. That's Stove Price. He got sideways. He got into the grass, but he does keep it going. Stevenson was trying to make a move on him, and I think he may have drove it in a little bit too deep in reaction to that. So, again, that was a close call, but we do stay green as Alvarez does get by Wetmore. That's for the 4th spot right now. Wetmore starting to go fall back. I wonder if that damage is hindering him in any kind of way right now. 22 of Nieto. Remember, Nieto was 3rd on that restart, but had with that incident we had, that big stack up on the restart, he went back to 9th. He's only managed to get himself up to 6th. So, again, as things have settled out just a little bit, we're going to go to a brief side-by-side commercial break, and we'll be back with you in a moment, so please stay with us.
When I was 16 years old, I was working in a Goodyear tire store, and my boss actually built an old dirt car, street stock Monte Carlo. Went with him one night, fell in love with it. It was a hell of a race, hell of a party, and a big fight afterwards. I was like, this is it for me. It wasn't long after that, I was driving an old 78 Camaro out of the weeds at that guy's farm. We pulled that thing out and made a race car out of it, and away we went. You know, I think a driver has more to do with the equation going back and racing dirt, whether it's a modified, a late model. You can do more with the race car. You know, the harder you drive it, a lot of times, the better it goes. You can crawl up on that wheel and feel like you made the difference at the end of the night. Asphalt car, you can't overdrive them. Well, that was the first thing that I had to learn right off the bat is, oh my gosh, I've got to discipline myself, not overdrive this thing, and that's how you get the most out of it. Truth be told, communicating the right information to your crew and your crew chief so they can do their job and make their appropriate adjustments for you to go faster and do your job is probably 90% of the game in our world. I've always loved late models. You know, my dream was to be a late model driver driving for a living across the country like Daryl and Don do that drive for me. I mean, that was, truth be told, that was my dream, you know. I always...
And we're back here at Martinsville Speedway for the Southern Railway 250 for the Integrity Racing League. The round of 8 in the first race of that round is past its halfway point, and you saw here on the side-by-side, it's still a tight battle up front between Jacob Fife and Adam de Blasio. De Blasio took a couple stabs at it, took a couple looks, but was not able to complete the pass and still is trying to find a way by. And these guys up front are 6 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, and even that battle we saw behind Evan, they have started to separate out back.
And I think right now de Blasio definitely is a little bit faster than Jacob Fife, but just with how these cars are and how this track is, it is just so hard to pass. You could be a 10th or 2/10 of a second quicker than the guy in front of you, but it can be really hard to pass them still.
As we saw with Adam de Blasio when he had that that intense back and forth contact with Tom Wetmore, de Blasio, I don't think he's going to be afraid to use the chrome horn. I was actually following him on Facebook last night. I'm friends with Adam on Facebook, and he was all for that move that Logano did, hard racing, and I fully agree. That bump and run, as long as it's a bump and run and it's not a spin and run or send them into the different zip code, as long as it's a nudge out of the way, I think it's all good, and I don't count that out as a possibility if these guys could stay like this.
Yeah, because they're still at about 3/10 of a second to get the gap between them. So that's definitely in range where you could do it if you wanted to.
So something that we brought up a little bit earlier. The current stint cycle right now is pushing 60 laps into this run, as we are closing in on 100 laps left in this race, and they cannot go that full distance. There will need to be a pit stop, and I mean, you don't want to make a green flag stop at Martinsville because it could be anywhere at least 2, maybe even 3 laps. I think you may be losing here under a pit stop cycle. Actually, it's
in about 45 seconds, 46 seconds it looks like.
So about 2.5 laps you'll lose. So obviously, if a caution is to come out, there goes your race. But I mean, if it's going to stay green, which it's appearing it's going to do so, these guys are going to have to make green flag stops, and it's just going to be a matter of how do you want to split up this last run? Do you want to make it as short as possible, but with enough time to be able to take advantage of those fresher tires? Best battle on the track right now is actually shaping up to be between Eisenhower and Alvarez, but I think Alvarez he was closing in on Eisenhower, has lost some steam, dropping back as they do go underneath again Kent Wetherill. And again, I do apologize, these paint schemes, it's almost throwing me off here because the paint schemes I had on in the beginning of the race, I don't know if they were cached from the past, but they were outdated. So now with a refresh, we do have different paint schemes on right now, so a little bit of an adjustment. But again, back up front, Fife has lost his lead, and here comes de Blasio, maybe taking another surge at it.
De Blasio is definitely faster right now, but just cannot find a way to get around him. He's been behind him for probably at least 30 laps or so. Just crossing that 100 laps to go mark now. And Blasio is starting to move up the track a little bit and try to get better runs down these straightaways. And it looks like that might be working for him as he's going up there to like the 2nd half or 3rd lane and then cutting all the way down to that curb. And actually that time he lost a little of ground.
Jacob Fife just being really smooth and just being really consistent right now. Maybe not be the fastest every lap, but he's definitely just doing what he needs to do. And the gap between 2nd and 3rd is growing and growing now. It's upwards of 7.25 seconds. So just, it's absolutely insane the difference between these top 2 and the rest of the field, Evan. But we are as I look at the stats, Jacob Fife, he did win a race this season. He won at Darlington. It does seem that Fife may have a little bit of a knack for these difficult racetracks.
Yeah, Martinsville and Darlington, both very difficult tracks. I'd say probably Darlington is a little bit tougher than this track, though. The track is fairly easy to run, but it's really, really hard to master.
Exactly.
Darlington is just hard to run in general.
Yeah, Darlington's hard to run, it's hard to pass, it's hard to just getting around lap traffic, and everything about Darlington's hard. Martinsville, I mean, if you're not good at Martinsville, you might only be 3/10 off the pace, which 3/10 is a lot, but it doesn't sound like too much. But gaining those 3/10 can take years, even on the sim racing side of things. Gaining those 3/10 and learning how to do it can take years of practice here at Martinsville.
Especially keeping that up in the long run.
Yeah, because what works maybe 20, 25 laps in, maybe you can throw it in the corner and pound the throttle and you can get away with it. But I'll tell you, once they get to this point in the run, as you can see with the disparity in the field between Eisenhower and de Blasio with that 7.5 second deficit, obviously what works for some does not work for all. It takes that really easy approach to the throttle. It's just everything about Martinsville is just about patience, being easy, and just really just taking it really careful with every aspect of how you drive this place. Anything about this track that it requires, if you say being aggressive and you say driving in deep, you're automatically driving Martinsville wrong. One of my favorite driver, and I'm a Kyle Larson fan, and Kyle Larson is just a driver who is known to, he wants to wheel it. He's as aggressive as he can be. He's always up on the wheel, and well, he finished 3 laps down before he had his incident in the real world race. As here comes de Blasio with a look, but this late in the run, he can't send it, couldn't throw it that deep into the braking zone. But as I was saying, a guy who is good at wheeling it and being aggressive and driving it right on the edge, it just don't work here at Martinsville.
Yeah, Martinsville's all being about smooth on your inputs, especially on that throttle.
And on the brakes, as we've seen from many, the back end will step around. You just think that maybe you can just outbrake him into the corner as if it's a road course, trying to outbrake maybe in the same aspect as going into the Sonoma hairpin, but you just can't really outbrake a guy that much. It's just really do everything you can. As see how high de Blasio ran. He's going to get on the throttle a little bit earlier, but it's all about just getting that peak into corner number 1. He wasn't able to peak. He had to dive it in there and not able to do so. But again, Evan, I'm expecting, I mean, any lap now could be a pit stop for these guys. They're 75 plus laps into this run right now, and we're at about, I hate doing math, we're less than 90 laps to go. So at this point, it's almost an even split. So at any point, I expect a pit stop from these guys.
I'd say probably these top 2, they can go a little bit longer than everyone else, just because they are further ahead. So third place on back comes to Perot. They don't have to worry about losing a lot of time to them because they've already got a 7.8 second gap over Caleb Eisenhower. So the guys behind them, they can come to pit road, and these top 2 can run another probably 10, 15, maybe even 20 laps before they even start to get within 2 seconds of them.
It's going to be very interesting to see. Again, with that gap all the way back, as we've said, there's not really going to be a strategy call that will give someone as Eisenhower, someone as Alvarez, Stevenson. There's not really a strategy call. It's going to give any of them the win without a caution. They're just too far back at this point. So I'd have to imagine if the 36 pits first, you'll see de Blasio, if he cannot manage to react in time to pit that lap, it'll be immediately after. And as such, if de Blasio pits first, I mean, it'll actually work out for him a little bit because it may give him the lead if Fife would pit the next lap, because they do not want to give each other the benefit of fresh tires for any interval. Though we are only about 1 second off of our top pace, so times haven't dropped off too much.
It's actually only being about 1 second slower for 80 laps. That's pretty good for most of these guys up here. You see the guys back like Eisenhower, He's 1.3 seconds off his best lap so far.
Yeah, that's just all about, as we said, how you start these runs, and what you do in the first 10-15 laps of a run usually is indicative of how the rest of your race is going to go. So that's just really something you have to watch out for, as we do have a battle for fourth. Not Eisenhower, with Stevenson and Alvarez, fourth and fifth. Stevenson got really loose, and he'll have to regroup himself and try to make that pass one more time. Has lost a couple car lengths in the process.
Back to about a half second back now is Stevenson.
There is a lot of racing going on. End of the top 10, we have Stove Price. We were watching him. He will come to pit road along with the 18 of Cody Smith. They were on the lead lap. But it does look like, as we said, de Blasio and Wetmore, that's 9th and 10th. They are in close proximity, as there are a lot of drivers breaking to pit road. Jason Miller in the 73 headed to pit road. So may see some more drivers in the top 5 pit, and obviously we especially wait on when are these leaders going to come to pit road. And will there be any speeding penalties on pit road, Evan? A very slow 35 miles an hour here at Martinsville. Very, very easy to get caught by the speeding police.
Looks like the battle's still going on for the lead, and just de Blasio has not been able to even get next to 5. De Blasio still is definitely faster, but just cannot get next to him.
Yeah, he hasn't pulled any side by side. It's just, like as I said, Fife's right on the top, de Blasio's right on the top. It seems as if it's almost a guessing game of, I don't know if Fife's trying to play defense so much, or if he's just kind of, they're just coincidentally choosing to run the same lines, just trying to find that grip. And a lot of times they're just running the same groove. You can see right on the top right there is a 36, which kind of blocked what the 48 was trying to do, and that just eliminates any run that Adam de Blasio may be able to build up.
Yeah, and like you were saying, Fife is just kind of running in between the 2 lanes. He's not giving them the bottom, but he's running so far up the track that de Blasio would have to run really high to get to his outside. So he really can't get to his inside and can't get to his outside very easily.
You can see just ahead of these leaders there is slower traffic. These guys will catch lap cars, but again, when is their pit stop going to be? We are closing in on 100 laps, 90 laps right now since their last stop. We're less than 75 laps to go in this race, and that is absolutely no time at all. Only about 25 minutes of action here on the short track. So this race is just clicking off rather quickly at the moment. And just look at de Blasio. He hooked that curb perfectly, and again, this is the closest he's been, but he sailed it. I think he sailed it a little bit too high. We'll see if he can execute that crossover, but not quite.
He did get a pretty good run, but not enough to get next to him. Once again, going to that pretty high lane through 1 and 2.
I just don't think he's getting on the throttle early enough right now. I won't go on board with him. We are on board with him. See, he's off the throttle right now. I just think he needed about a second earlier on the throttle. I don't know if he was going to be able to do it, though, as he is going to try to take a look, just try to get into the head of the 36. A little bit of contact.
Fife shutting the door there on corner exit. It's going to make de Blasio drop back a car length or so here now through 3 and 4. De Blasio gained all that time right back through that corner. And at least a little bit down the front stretch now.
A little bit loose on the braking. He drove it in there really hard. And again, when we were on board, Evan, it looked to me, and obviously, I mean, I've had a lot of experience here. I've had a lot of success here, but not knowing exactly what's going on in these cars, it looks like he needs to get on the throttle a tiny bit earlier to make that higher groove work. But again, he just may not be able to with the condition of the tires right now.
Yeah, with 95 lap full tires, they are getting really hot and losing a lot of grip here. So there's probably not much rear grip in those cars right now.
Because he's just not, even though he's getting on the throttle earlier and he is getting that straighter shot off of the corners, it's not really amounting to what you'd expect it to on the straightaways. And I'll tell you, Jacob Fife, I'll call him. He doesn't have the Terry Labonte paint scheme, but I'm going to call Fife the Iceman right now. Is having this constant pressure on him for the better part of 50, 60, maybe even 70 laps at this point. He has not really made any mistake that has cost him the lead.
Here comes Fife to pit road. Blasio was not able to that time.
And just this alone, this one lap, could be 1 second on the racetrack. But we'll see how it plays out. I would bet the farm that the 48's going to pit this time by.
Yep, there he comes.
It's a good thing because I like my farm. I didn't want to give it up, but it was really hard. Did he make the speed there? My telemetry's showing really quick there, but I'm assuming he did make it. I don't think our telemetry is perfect here on the software side, but he was really quick in there, which is what he needed to do to get every last 1/10 of a second possible. As Fife's left sides are up, he drops the jack. He's gonna get on the throttle, go through the blend line and the pit exit cone, and we'll see how these guys coalesce back on the racetrack.
So it's gonna hand the lead over to Caleb Eisenhower, who is yet to come to pit road.
De Blasio just exiting his pit stall right now. De Blasio just goes back onto the racetrack, and they're going to be side by side.
Down into 3 and 4, and De Blasio is going to get the lead.
Now that is not what the 36 needed. I think he knows that the 48 is a little bit faster. He held him up for many a lap, and very surprising that the guy who pitted first actually exits the pits last. Let's see what the difference is. We can tell you what the difference was on the telemetry. They had identical pit stops, but Fife was 0.6 of a second slower during the entire duration of being on pit lane.
And Blasio is starting to pull away here. About a half second between those two right now. So Eisenhower and Shetzler still have yet to pit, as well as a few others.
So Evan, do you think just that 0.6 of a second difference, they had identical pit stops, would that just be pushing the speed limit even better, or is it running maybe running a little bit lower on the pit lane in the corners? How do you think he gained that extra half second?
Well, it looks like De Blasio still stayed on the outside of pit road, over there on the right side, so it must have been just maximizing his pit road speed.
And sometimes you can blip it a little bit 2-3 miles an hour faster in some zones, and a lot of times entering your pit stall, sometimes you can spike it a little bit, and because obviously it is calculated via averages, so whatever segment your pit stall is in, that's obviously going to be a very slow average, so sometimes you can spike it there. But again, he did what he needed to do, and now he doesn't have that battle anymore. He's starting to pull away by about 0.6 of a second, but we have to let you know what is actively the battle for the lead right now. Well, not quite the battle, but Caleb Eisenhower has yet to pit. He's been out for 106 laps. He's up by 2 seconds approximately over Christopher Schutzler, who has approximately 5 seconds back to Tom Wetmore, who has an active battle with Eric De Blasio, and then we have Alan Pahari, and then we go back as the top 5, and then we go to 6th, which will be the battle for the lead once pit stops shake out.
It's like Eric De Blasio and Tom Wetmore, their cars are pretty evenly damaged here on the front end at least. So that's putting up a good battle for them.
I don't remember, I mean we may have, but you know how my memory goes. I don't quite remember all that happened to the 11, but I do remember all that happened to the 42. And he had again, all that back and forth with Adam De Blasio there, and I mean, obviously more has happened since that, because that was all the damage was not accrued during that. So just seems like half the field, Evan, is really beaten and torn and has been through the ringer, but there's still a good amount of guys that it seems as though if they haven't got a scratch, they've only have about 1 or 2. Some guys have really kept their cars in very good form.
Be interested to see when Eisenhower and Shetzler do decide to come down pit road. They can probably go about another 20 laps or so. They've done 110 this run. So that's going to be interesting to see when they do decide to come down pit road.
Oh.
Right now, they're just hoping for a caution.
It is worth noting that de Blasio and Fife have managed to get back onto the lead lap. So if there was a caution at this point, they would not, Eisenhower and company would not have that to their blessing. But they would still have the track position, as at this point everybody would come back to pit road. So that's all they're fighting for right now, is they're just praying and praying and praying for a caution. But people have been praying for a caution for the better part of 150 laps, and we just haven't seen one. I'm also being informed in chat now that there is a bit of a backstory and a history between the 42 and the 11, so there very well may be something to watch here, as the 42 is to the outside, the 11 slung to the inside, and we'll sail it off into 3. Wetmore goes really high, giving the 11 all the real estate, and looks like that pass will be completed without conflict.
So Adam de Blasio has been able to open that gap up to about a second back to Jacob 5. Do you think he's hurting his tires more by running this fast, or is he just this much faster overall?
I would just say that I think he's finally been able to let the reins out and show what he's made of. Remember, he didn't qualify that great. He was in traffic for about the first 100 and some odd laps, and he was then able to clear de Blasio. Oh, he was then able to get in a good position on the restart, and could never take the lead from Fife, but now that he has, and he can finally run his own pace. I mean, we know what that pace is up to 48 usually, and he's just seeming to just check out and kind of do what we're used to seeing him do all season.
Four drivers still need to come down pit road. Eisenhower, Schetzler, Eric de Blasio, and Tom Wetmore all have yet to pit.
And we had loose estimates of about 130 to 140 laps being the maximum. So that would give them about 20 laps approximately, and there's still 47 to go. So I'd really be very surprised if anybody tried to run this out. It would not be a winning strategy with how quickly that de Blasio and Fife are starting to gain on everybody. But I mean, yeah. And still just fighting for the caution. But again, with this field size we still have 16 drivers on the speedway right now. At the current moment, we have 7 being scored in the lead lap, but actually I'm not sure if that will even change when pit stops happen with how fast 48 and 36 have been.
Looks like Schetzler has now been able to get by Eisenhower. So Christopher Schetzler in that 24 leading laps here tonight. Still 120 laps into this run, and they have not come down pit road yet.
Their times have fallen off again. Still about, well, for Schetzler, about a second, 1.1 seconds. That's all he has lost since his best run. You can see he's obviously been into the back bumper of somebody. Some significant front end damage to that ice cream machine. But he does continue to lead the race on this pit strategy, and I will say that de Blasio is only 8 seconds back. He's actually about to pass his brother, and his brother has still yet to pit, Eric de Blasio. Fife is back about a second, 1.25 seconds right now. So Fife, I think at this point, I mean, if you're Jacob Fife, I think at this point you don't want to settle for second, but I think at this point you're just kind of, you realize that that's probably going to be what you're going to have to settle for tonight, barring a mistake or a caution. So he's just kind of cruising that ballpark right now. It's 10 seconds approximately back to Don Stevenson. Fife entering turn number 3 right now. Stevenson entering turn number 1. That is how much of a gap that Fife has over the next position. So really just no pressure for the 36.
Yeah, at this point he's probably just hoping for a caution, but he probably wants to wait another 10 or 15, 20 laps maybe until those two guys in front of him do end up coming to pit road. Then at that point, I think he wants a caution.
Yeah, have that caution come out at a point where they have already pitted and at a point where there's not a lot of laps left, or maybe you can just run full power that last run, not have to worry about the tires, and maybe at that point someone will have something for Adam. But if this does go green for the next 38 some odd laps, which is trending to be the case, obviously it's going to be an uphill battle trying to get anywhere with that situation. The gap's still holding steady about 1 1/4 seconds right now. But again, we still await for the 24 and the 51 to come to the attention of their pit crews.
And the gap is going about 4.5 seconds now to Blasio 2 Schetzler. And only 2 seconds to Blasio 2 Eisenhower.
So these guys will automatically now shuffle back to, because they're probably going to get caught on the racetrack or very well close to it. So these guys are going to go from leading to about 3 seconds, 3 laps back nearly, 2.5 laps. And I don't know how much time they're going to be able to eat up between their pit stop and the end of the race. So a very risky call. And if you were running maybe 7th, 8th, you may end up in the teens after this run.
Here comes Eisenhower to pit road.
This is 130 laps into the run. So let's see what 24, he's exiting 2. This is his opportunity to pit, but he will stay on the speedway.
So Schetzler probably can go about 10 more laps at the max. Let's see if he comes down pit road this time. He's gonna stay out for at least another lap. So here comes Alvarez behind him to get a lap back.
Yep, and Adam and Jacob, 2nd and 3rd respectively now. Gap is about 1.5 seconds between the two of them. That will be the battle for the win. You can see a couple lap cars done and 70 of Weatherall in between those 2nd and 3rd place drivers right now. Still on the track. Here comes, as you said, Alvarez trying to get his lap back, but 133 laps in, and Schetzler still on the raceway.
I would have thought he would have come down pit road by now. Obviously just out there running, trying to get a caution here.
Again, this is going to automatically, he will go back to most likely 14th position after this is all said and done, once he pits, because right now up till 13th is on the lead as 1 lap down. Alan Pahari is in 14th, 2 laps down, so that is where Schetzler is going to end up being. I'm not quite sure where he was running before, maybe like earlier, maybe the first third of the run, but see here, de Blasio is right behind Nieto. Nieto this is to get his lap back. He gets into the back bumper, sends him sideways.
Right in front of de Blasio.
I just don't think he was ready for how slow that Schetzler was going to be. Go back on replay quickly and try to catch it. See, he just got into the long corner entry, and he did allow him to save it. But obviously in the process, the 48 gets the lead. Nieto still has to get his lap back now. Now he has to get it back from de Blasio, which is going to be that much harder. And here comes Jacob Fife, the 2nd place driver underneath Schetzler. And now this is 137 laps into the run, and he is losing. Now he's going to be back to 3rd. And remember, he still has a stop, so he's going to go, as I said, all the way back to presumably the 14th position. But now he's on the outside, so now he can't pit until he can get to the bottom. So he's going to have to wait for the 22 and the 43 to clear him.
And Wetmore just got into the back of de Blasio. Wetmore trying to get his lap back, and his corner exit hit him. And then de Blasio just kind of let him go.
And finally, on lap 225, the 24 will come to pit road. And I guess if you're the 24, you don't have, you're not worried about points as part-time driver. He's not worried about points, so he is just trying to win these races. And that's the best chance he had, but I will say, I'm not sure if it was lap cars or what, but that 1.5 second lead that Fife was trying to work into, well, that 1.5 second lead is no longer, he's there.
Blasio lost some time letting that 42 of Wetmore go by. I don't know if that's the only reason he lost all that time, but Fife is right there, only about a car length and a half back. The last time by, it looks like de Blasio was about a half a tenth quicker, so have to see how this ends up shaking out with about 23 laps to go.
I mean, if Fife was able to stay a little bit closer, maybe just get into the head of the 48, and again, maybe we could see one of those classic Martinsville finishes, and that would be interesting, but I don't think the 36 is going to be able to sustain the track position that he somehow just inherited, but obviously he will not go down without a fight, as we are closing in on 20 laps to go.
Coming out of turn 4, 21 laps to go here at the stripe. Looks like de Blasio is starting to pull away once again.
Only 3/100ths of a second faster, but at Martinsville, 3/100ths is a gap worth mentioning, so obviously that is helping him out. Half second is the lead, and Fife trying to run that slightly higher line and take advantage of it on corner exit. Maybe I've actually worked a little bit that time by. Eric de Blasio, well damaged, staying all the way to the inside of the racetrack. So a half tenth faster was Fife last time by, but I think this time by, definitely the edge is going to go to the 48. By just about 7/100ths of a second, so pretty much just even exchange that time by. 48 maybe had a little bit of a scare there, but it does look like it is starting to work.
Is Tom Wetmore waiting on de Blasio here? Because Wetmore is on 35 lap fresher tires and quickly got around the 48, but he's starting to check up here.
No. We aren't, no. Tell me this isn't going to be Logano versus Kenseth.
I'm just saying, he's slowed the pace down quite a bit here.
I'm just going to keep saying no, so I'm going to, no, there's no way. I mean, I will say, I mean, we hate saying phrases over and over. We have never seen, I've never said, have you ever in this kind of scenario before. So that would be a first, but maybe he'll slow down the pace enough to let Jacob Fife get to the back bumper. I don't know, but Jacob Fife being the league owner as well, I really would be surprised to see a move of that nature made in this scenario, but maybe we're overthinking it, but it very well could be a possibility.
de Blasio is really catching up to that 42, and behind him, the 36 of Fife is starting to drop off the back bumper of that 48 just a little bit here.
I remember, if you joined the broadcast a little late, there was between these two drivers, the 42 and the 48, there was a good 3-4 laps of back and forth bumping, dooring, slamming each other out of the way. They had some big tempers going on earlier in the race. It has fizzled out as the race has progressed, but still something that, I mean, it could still be in the minds of these guys. The 42 may have felt he didn't get the last word in, and maybe he wants to try to get the last word in. I mean, it would have pretty significant consequences for de Blasio in this situation, but these are both playoff drivers, so 12 laps to go. The lead is about just under a second between the 48 and the 36, but this 42 trying to stay on the lead lap. Here comes the 48 with a look, but that 42 not giving him the door down low.
And Wetmore, he is on about 35 lap fresher tires. So I kind of thought you would be able to pull away a little bit here.
With all that damage, it may be hindering him just a little bit. And this is slowly letting that 36 get back into it. It was 0.8 of a second. Now it is just at about a half a second. And you know that 48 is just saying, let me go. But after what happened earlier, I don't think he's surprised at all that he has it. But does the 48 send it to the back bumper just to get him out of the way to preserve his own victory?
I don't know, because when Wetmore did go around de Blasio a few laps ago, about 10 or 15, Wetmore did definitely hit him on corner exit when he could have gone around. So I think he still is a little bit upset, and looks like he is maybe holding up a little bit here.
And Fife did lose some time. He was down to a half second now. It's closer to about 3/4 of a second as we are in the single digits now. 8 laps to go, coming to 7 at Martinsville. And I mean, an interesting dynamic with a lap down car and your leader. So far, nothing has happened. So far, Fife has not been able to take advantage of it. But here comes the 48, getting that little bit closer to the 42. Fife is now starting to surge once again, now within a half second, but there is more than one lap car ahead. These guys are starting to close in on more drivers. So this could get interesting if Fife can indeed get close enough.
de Blasio got right to the back bumper, that 42 of Wetmore there, and then allowed Fife to close in. So here comes de Blasio taking a look underneath the 42. So I guess Wetmore, he's gonna race him.
And if he clears him, is he going to let him go? He will. So no retaliation at this point. I think he had his head on enough to realize that probably wouldn't be the best move, or, I mean, don't let me speak too soon. But we are at 4 laps to go.
And now the 48 is getting held up by that 24 of Schetzler.
To the inside.
Blasio taking a look underneath them, but not able to get there.
That 24 now looks to the inside, and Fife still stuck behind the 42, so he is in no position to be able to take advantage of any of this slower traffic hindering the 48. So the gap is again about 3/4 of a second, but there are 2 lap cars in between. 24 sailed it on in there, way out of the groove. He does slide to. But here we come to 2 laps to go. 1 more mile at Martinsville.
de Blasio got it back up to about 3/4 of a second lead, and he's got 1 car in between him and the 5, so pretty safe here as he comes through 3 and 4 now. Out of turn 4, and he's going to take the white flag here.
1 more lap around Martinsville. This will send him to Homestead, Miami with a free pass. Does not have to worry about the next 2 races. And Adam de Blasio didn't start off with the fastest car, kind of stuck back there in the ladder into the top 10, but got track position, and once he got it, he was gone, and it'll be the 13th win of the season for Adam de Blasio and a free ticket to Homestead. Adam de Blasio wins at Martinsville.
Jacob Fife coming home in 2nd, and Don Stevenson coming through 3 and 4 now on the white flag, out of 4 now, and it looks like Stevenson is going to come home in 3rd.
So a very interesting race here at Martinsville. A lot of tension there those last couple laps, but the 48 was able to tread through it and persevere, and was able to get the win. So before we start the post-race show, let's get you the final results here tonight from the Martinsville Speedway. With the victory here tonight, leading 31 laps was Adam de Blasio. Jacob Fife leading a race high 135, has to settle for a 2nd. Don Stevenson in 3rd, Guillermo Alvarez in 4th, Samuel Nieto in 5th, Caleb Eisenhower in 6th, and then William Dunn, Jason Miller, Jay Heisman, and Cody Smith, your top 10.
And coming home at 11th, we have the 42 of Tom Wetmore, in 12th, the 11 of Eric de Blasio. In 13th, the 24 of Christopher Schetzler, and 14th, 29 of Alan Pahari, 15th, 94 of Alan Roll, and rest of the field, Kent Weatherall, Stove Price Jr., and Camilo Thompson in 18th.
Yep, so that is the 18 cars that we had take the grid tonight. So we gotta wait for these guys to get out of the cars and get ready for the post-race interview, so stick with us after the break. We'll be right back with some interviews.
I always wanted a stacker trailer with 2 hot rods in it, and let's go racing. Let's take off with your buddies and go race and chase that dream. Never in a million years did I think it would turn into a Cup Series, and I actually have an opportunity to own 2 dirt late model teams. When you think of iRacing, you don't think of a video game. It's not. It's way above and beyond any of that. You know, dirt racing changes so much, the track changes so much. Being able to capture that, to experience all those details that surround dirt racing and make dirt racing what it is what makes iRacing so cool, because they did nail all of that. I knew when they came to our shop and scanned cars and went to the detail of getting that car right, I knew that it was going to be over the top, because it blew my mind just the work that went into making sure the car itself was legit. This sport has been around a long time. The competition can't be replaced, and that's what brings people back to the racetrack week in and week out.
And we're back here for the post-race show after a exciting race here at Martinsville for the Integrity Racing League, the Southern Railway 250. So we are going to start the post-race show with interviews, a little bit of backwards order for us, but we will talk to tonight's winner first. Evan has caught up with race winner Adam de Blasio.
Well, Adam, you get your 13th win of the season here at the Martinsville Speedway and punch your ticket into Homestead here in a few weeks to go race for a championship. How do you feel after this race?
I'm exhausted. Fife put up one heck of a battle. Like, hats off to him. He was very tough tonight. He was very fast and so hard to pass here, and I wanted to race him clean, unlike Logano did with Truex. I wanted to be the Truex. But pretty cool. Tied my hero in wins in a season. I know it's sim racing, but 13 is tying Jeff Gordon, so that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, you got win number 13 on the season here tonight at Martinsville, and you still have Texas, ISM, and Homestead to go try and get 14 and maybe a few others. How do you feel about going to Texas and ISM here in a few weeks?
Texas, I really love Texas. For some reason, I figured out something in turn 2 that works. I can't explain what it is. It's just a feeling in the car that you need to know how to rotate it correctly. And I did a league race there not too long ago, and I fended off one of the toughest drivers in that league, Michael Lariah. He's superb at Texas Motor Speedway too, so I'm looking forward to Texas. Phoenix, anything can happen there, but ticket punch to the Final Four in Homestead. All the focus is on Homestead right now. I'm so happy. It stinks that we don't have any playoff points or any bonus points going into this round, but I'm glad that I took care of business in the first race.
Yeah, and speaking of Homestead, how do you feel about that track? Is that a good track for you? Do you think you're going to have a shot to go out there and win the race in the championship?
I certainly hope so. I will have a chance. There's definitely some very high quality drivers in this league that I'll be worried about should they make the Final Four. Well, technically any of the round of 8 drivers are quality enough to be very good at Homestead. But this is my 3rd year in the league. I finished 5th and 3rd. in the race, and then I finished third and second in the points. So if the trend continues, it's fifth, third, first, and then third, second, first. So I'm hoping like crazy that I can pull it off and get a championship. Never won a championship on iRacing, and I'd be so happy if I did. But there's still multiple races to go, and still gotta run Homestead.
Alright, well, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to after your win here at Martinsville?
Yes, I want to thank Jacob Fife for putting on this league. Like I said, this is my third full-time season in the league, and he puts on one of the best leagues out there, if not the best. And he's a great driver too. Hats off to him again driving tonight. I had so much fun with him, racing against him. I want to thank you guys, PTRTV on LSRTV, for broadcasting. I think I heard some real life stuff came up and you couldn't broadcast us, which is okay. But glad you could, guys could come to the round of 8. And I want to thank my first year gaming teammates, my Polo Brother Racing teammates, and my newly formed Flat Out Racing teammates in a different league. And sure I'm forgetting Eric for always bouncing off ideas and stuff, but man, I'm probably forgetting someone, but man, happy to get this win.
Alright, well, thanks for talking with us, and good luck next week.
Thank you.
And it looks like we do not have second place finisher Jacob 5, so Corey has caught up with third place finisher Don Stevenson.
All right, Don, a third place here at Martinsville, and while we saw the first third of the race, it looked like you were the pinball. You were all over the place getting shoved all around, but you managed to persevere, get a podium finish in a long green flag run here at Martinsville. Talk about your night.
Yeah, that's sure the way I felt there at the beginning of the race. I was just getting banged around all over the place, it seemed like, and was getting a little annoyed with it and stuff. But yeah, we running back in the 6th or 7th there and had that second caution, and the car just wasn't running right after pretty much getting hit everywhere on the car. So decided to get some of the damage fixed, and we were able to lead a lap, and didn't really have any thoughts I'd be able to get back up to the podium, but we just had a really long green flag run, and it seemed like every car I passed for position was just tore all up and everything. So I don't know what happened up there while I was in the back, but was able to just kind of pick them off one by one, pick the right pit strategy, kind of just decided to pit with Adam and Jacob there, and hope that it worked out to get a third, and that's pretty much what happened.
Did you think that if you maybe had an even ground, you had a caution and started with those guys, do you think you may have had anything to battle with Fife and Adam? They really seem to be the class of the field tonight.
Actually, I think I might have, just because, like, on the short run, I've really, to tell you the truth, I think everyone was pretty even on a short run, and I felt really good on a long run, and I think I showed it there driving through the field there without a caution and so forth. But I mean, I think I might have had something for them. Whether or not I could have gotten around them is a completely different story, because it was a challenge to pass, like always at Martinsville and everything. But it was still a fun race. It was good to see the race go green there. That was 100, and I think that's the first green flag pit stop I've ever made at Martinsville, so that was pretty cool.
All right, and then one more question for you. Obviously, being the round of 8, Adam gets his ticket into Homestead, so that leaves 3 more spots. You got ISM and Phoenix. Any either of those tracks maybe a little more confident at than the other one?
I mean, Texas, I've never really liked Texas at all, and Phoenix, I loved the old version of Phoenix, and this newer version I've kind of struggled at a little bit here and there, but you know, it's supposed to be a lot like Richmond where I won it recently, so I mean, hopefully we can get some good practice in for one of those two there and maybe get a win and punch my ticket there to Homestead.
Yeah, we'll be watching for that. But to wrap up tonight, anyone you want to give a shout out to for your third place finish?
Yeah, I want to say hi to my mom and dad. Love them very much. I'm sure they're watching. My wonderful wife who's sleeping right now after celebrating the Sox winning the World Series there last night. Yeah, man. You know, integrity racing is a great league. I mean, just I say it every time I'm on the podium, but it's the best league I've ever been in. Probably the most competition I've ever been in. It's just world-class guys that I'm racing against here, and you guys in the booth for doing the broadcasting.
All right, thanks again, Don, and we'll be watching for the remainder of the season.
Thank you.
And we do have Jacob Fife has just joined, so Evan will run down and talk to him real quick.
Well, Jacob, you come home with a second place finish here at Martinsville. What are your thoughts after this race?
Good, solid points night. Wanted one spot better. We didn't have enough in the pits tonight. Up until that point, we had some great pit stops. Was able to get the lead there a couple different times, and I'm assumingly the most laps, if not pretty darn close to it. But just last pit stop there was the worst one of the night, and that was the difference, I think. It's very difficult to pass in Martinsville, so you know, if I could have got back past him there on that final pit stop, I tried to pit earlier to get that a little bit advantage. Then it might have been a different story, or he'd have had done something to me in order to get around me. I'd have made sure of that. But you know, that's the way it falls. A good way to start this round of the playoffs for sure. With the second place, no incidents, led a bunch of laps, so I'm proud of that. But definitely would have liked to have that win and just kind of lock it up and not have to worry about the next two races. But definitely I'll take the second place.
Yeah, we have Texas and ISM these next 2 weeks. How confident do you feel about being able to go out there and get a win in one of those two races?
I mean, it's a tough field as always. I think I have a better chance at Phoenix. I've won there before a couple times in past seasons, both in our secondary series and in the Cup Series. So Phoenix would be the better of the two. Texas I'm okay at. It's just not one of my better tracks comparative to the rest of the field. But Phoenix might be a good shot. But I really think at this point now it's about points and maybe having a point your way in. That kind of thinking. I have to hope Adam just wins the rest of them, which, you know, he's been doing for most of the year anyway. But if he wins a couple more or just one more, then that means it's more on points, and I think that's where my advantage is.
And if you do end up managing to get to Homestead, how do you feel about that race? Do you think you're going to be able to go out there and bring home the win?
Me and Homestead do not get along very well. I've been second many a time in the championship at that track. So just sometimes in fantastic fashion and sometimes not so much. But I mean, you just got to give it your best going into that week and knowing what's on the line and just try to put your best foot forward. But it's not my best track. I know certain people who, if they make it to Homestead, they will be incredibly difficult to beat. Like Nieto is super strong there. Adam obviously is strong everywhere, but they're going to be really hard to beat. But, you know, you got to get there in order to make it. So that's going to be the goal for right now. Just take it one race at a time.
All right. Well, is there anyone you'd like to thank or shout out to you after your second place finish here?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, thank you guys for broadcasting tonight for the rest of the season. I look forward to seeing those. I want to thank the members of the league and my admins who helped me out running this thing. It's going to be a fun last few races before I hand the baton off, so to speak. Let somebody else do the running for a while. But going to enjoy the last few races. Hopefully I'll be in that Final Four. But like I said, ultimately I want to thank all the members of the league who make it happen, who make this a successful league. And hopefully we'll finish the year strong.
All right. Well, thanks for talking with us, and good luck in these next few races.
All right. Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good one.
And I do need to apologize because, and I don't know if on your end, I don't have the green spoiler and such on Fife's car. So even though I said he wasn't in the playoffs, he was. So
yeah, my end, it didn't have the green on the car either. So
yeah, so that was what I was looking for. So that threw me off. So all throughout the race, Paul just felt he is in the playoffs and was very close to punching his ticket. And we're looking at the burnout that De Blasio did, and he kind of punched the front stretch barrier. So there goes that clean car. But we do want to wrap up tonight's coverage by a quick shout out to our PTRTV sponsors: Air Movement and Fabrications, Kreutz Custom Graphics, iBog iRacing Broadcast Overlay Graphics. And we want to give a shout out to all the fans and LSRTV for letting us showcase these races on the big channel, and hope everyone is enjoying them as we are enjoying bringing them to you. Stay tuned to PTRTV on Thursday if you're watching this live, as we do have an announcement to bring that will be rather interesting for upcoming endeavors, so you want to stay tuned for that, and stay tuned Mondays and Tuesdays for the next couple weeks here as we wrap up coverage of the Integrity Racing League season and the American Sim Racing Series and their Sam Maxwell Customs Truck Series. So stay tuned for that. And signing out of the booth tonight, Corey Silva, Evan Black, and Joe Chris behind the scenes. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.
Have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.